Something remarkable happened in Cincinnati. Not because the match ended in dramatic fashion. Not because there was a final set tiebreak. And not because Eala needed a miracle comeback. What made this story remarkable was how routine she made it look. Just days after arriving in Cincinnati carrying the expectations of an entire nation, Eala stepped onto the court against Romania's Elena-Gabriela Ruse and immediately reminded everyone why she has become one of the hottest players in women's tennis. And before the match could even be completed, the result was already beyond doubt. The scoreboard read 6-1, 3-0 in favor of Eala when rain interrupted play. Then came the news nobody expected. Ruse was unable to continue. The match was officially recorded as a retirement, sending Eala into the next round. Another win. Another step forward. Another reminder that the Washington champion is not slowing down. Coming into Cincinnati, there were legitimate questions surrounding Eala. Not about her talent. Not about her confidence. But about her energy. After all, the last month had been a whirlwind. She had produced the biggest results of her career. A historic Wimbledon run. A stunning victory over Iga Swiatek. Her first WTA title in Washington. A 7-match winning streak. A deep run in Toronto. And enough media attention to change her life almost overnight. The concern wasn't whether she could play. The concern was whether she could maintain that level. Whether the physical and emotional demands would finally catch up to her. Those questions didn't last very long against Ruse. From the opening game, Eala looked fresh. Sharp. Focused. Dangerous. The same player who had shocked some of the biggest names in the sport over the past several weeks. The match started exactly the way every Eala fan hoped it would. She wasn't tentative. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't feeling her way into the contest. She attacked immediately. Her left-handed patterns were working. The forehand was finding angles. The backhand was penetrating through the court. And Ruse was immediately under pressure. Every service game felt like a battle. Every rally felt like Eala was dictating the terms. The Romanian tried to stay aggressive. She tried to shorten points. She tried to disrupt Eala's rhythm. Nothing worked. Because Eala was simply seeing the ball beautifully. What has changed most about Eala over the past few months is not necessarily her shot making. The talent was always there. It's her belief. The confidence is different now. You can see it in the way she moves. You can see it in the way she handles big points. And you can see it in the way she responds when opponents challenge her. There was a time when matches like this could become complicated. Now she looks like she expects to win. That's a huge difference. Elite players don't step onto the court hoping things go their way. They step onto the court expecting to find solutions. And that's exactly what Eala has started doing. The first set was a perfect example. Ruse is not an easy opponent. She has experience. She has power. She has beaten quality players throughout her career. Yet Eala made the set look straightforward. Game after game, she forced Ruse into uncomfortable positions. She moved her around the court. She attacked the second serve. She controlled the tempo. And before long, the set belonged entirely to the Filipina. 6-1. A dominant opening statement. Not lucky. Not fortunate. Dominant. And perhaps most importantly, efficient. The kind of tennis that preserves energy for the long tournament ahead. Then came the second set. And somehow Eala looked even better. Instead of relaxing after winning the opener, she increased the pressure. The returns became sharper. The rallies became shorter. The confidence became even more obvious. Within minutes, she had raced out to a 3-0 lead. At that point, the match felt almost completely under control. Ruse was searching for answers. Eala already had them. And then nature intervened. Dark clouds moved in. Rain arrived. Play was suspended. The players left the court. Fans waited. The tournament waited. Everyone expected play to resume. But it never did. Because what happened next changed everything. And it handed Eala another victory in Cincinnati. But just when it looked like Eala was cruising toward another routine victory, Cincinnati threw something completely unexpected at her. The rain came down. And this wasn't just a short interruption. The weather had already been threatening throughout the day, but once Eala moved ahead 6-1, 3-0, the conditions became impossible to ignore. The match was stopped. For most players, a rain interruption can be frustrating. You lose your rhythm, you cool down physically. You have to leave the court, wait, and then mentally prepare yourself to start again. But for Eala, there was another factor. She was already completely in control. She had won the opening set 6-1, and she had carried that momentum directly into the second. At 3-0, the message was clear. Eala wasn't simply surviving Elena-Gabriela Ruse. She was dictating the match. Ruse had struggled to find answers from the beginning. Eala was moving confidently, changing direction with her ground strokes and forcing the Romanian into uncomfortable positions. Every time Ruse tried to establish a rally, Eala seemed to have another response. And then the rain arrived. The crowd waited. Players disappeared from the court. The atmosphere that had been building around Eala suddenly became one of uncertainty. Would they resume? Would the delay last minutes? Or would the weather make it impossible to continue? Eventually, the decision was made. The match would not resume. And because Eala was leading 6-1, 3-0, the result was awarded to her as a walkover. Another victory. Another step forward. And another reminder of just how quickly Eala's season has transformed. Think about where she was not that long ago. Eala wasn't supposed to be walking into Cincinnati as one of the players everyone was watching. She wasn't supposed to be carrying the expectations of an entire country. And she certainly wasn't supposed to be collecting wins against established WTA players with this kind of confidence. But that's exactly what is happening. Her victory over Ruse adds another chapter to a remarkable stretch of tennis. And perhaps the most impressive part isn't even the final result. It's how quickly Eala took control before the weather decided the ending for her. From the opening point, she looked like the player who wanted to make a statement. She didn't wait for Ruse to make mistakes. She created them. She pushed Ruse behind the baseline. She attacked short balls. She controlled the tempo. And once she had the first set in her hands, she didn't relax. She came out in the second set and immediately continued the pressure. That is something that has become increasingly noticeable about Eala. Earlier in her career, opponents could sometimes disrupt her rhythm. A bad start could force her to fight her way back into matches. But now, there is a different level of belief. She knows she belongs. And that confidence is becoming visible in the way she plays. The biggest difference is that Eala no longer seems surprised when she is the better player on the court. That's a massive psychological shift. Because when you start believing that you belong at this level, your decisions become sharper. Your movement becomes more aggressive. And the big points don't feel quite as big. That's exactly what we've been seeing from Eala. And Cincinnati is becoming another stage for that transformation. Remember what happened just days earlier. Eala arrived in Ohio after an exhausting run in Toronto. She had played match after match. She had battled through difficult opponents. She had experienced the incredible support of thousands of Filipino fans. And then she faced Belinda Bencic. That match ended her 7-match winning streak. For the first time in weeks, Eala was forced to stop. She admitted that she needed rest. She joked about needing a haircut. She talked about trimming her nails. And more importantly, she talked about taking some time away from tennis. That break may have been exactly what she needed. Because when Eala arrived in Cincinnati, she looked refreshed. And now she's already secured another victory. The result against Ruse may have ended with a walkover, but the tennis Eala played before the rain was anything but accidental. 6-1, 3-0. That is domination. And it came against a player who knows what it takes to compete at this level. Ruse has spent years competing on the WTA Tour. She has faced top players. She knows how to construct points. She knows how to fight. But Eala simply didn't give her enough opportunities. And that's why this victory matters. Not because Eala needed another win to prove herself, but because it shows that the Washington champion is not satisfied with what she already accomplished. She is continuing to push forward. And now comes the bigger question. How far can she go in Cincinnati? Because this tournament is different. This isn't Washington. This isn't a tournament where Eala arrived as an unknown and surprised everyone. She arrives in Cincinnati with expectations. She arrives as a seeded player. She arrives ranked around the world's top 20. And she arrives as a player everyone now knows. That changes everything. Opponents are preparing for her differently. Coaches are studying her differently. Fans are watching her differently. And the pressure is different. But so far, Eala is handling it. And that may be the most important development of all. Because the hardest part of becoming a champion isn't winning the first big title. It's proving that the title wasn't a one-time miracle. It's coming back the following week and performing when everyone expects you to. That's the test Eala is facing right now. Washington made history. Toronto turned her into a global attraction. And Cincinnati is asking a completely different question. Can Eala become consistent at this level? Her opening performance suggests the answer could be yes. The rain may have ended the match earlier than anyone expected, but it couldn't erase what Eala had already accomplished on court. She had taken control. She had built a commanding lead. And when the tournament officials finally called it, Eala had another victory next to her name. But the story doesn't end here. Because Cincinnati has much bigger challenges waiting. The draw is filled with established stars. Players who have spent years competing deep into WTA 1000 tournaments. Players who aren't going to be intimidated by Eala's recent success. And that's exactly what makes the next stage so fascinating. Eala has already shown that she can beat elite opposition. Now she has to show that she can keep doing it. One match at a time. One opponent at a time. And potentially one major statement after another. The rain gave us an unusual ending. But perhaps it also gave us something else. A reminder that Eala didn't need to finish the match to make her statement. She had already made it. 6-1, 3-0. And another Cincinnati victory belongs to Eala. Part 3 Eala isn't done yet fire. And just like that, Eala had another Cincinnati victory. No dramatic final point. No long handshake after 3 exhausting sets. No celebration that lasted for minutes. Instead, the rain made the decision. But make no mistake, the scoreboard had already told the story. Eala was leading Elena-Gabriela Ruse 6-1, 3-0 when the match was stopped, and the result was eventually awarded to Eala as a walkover. The weather may have ended the contest, but it couldn't take away the performance. Alex had already done the hard part. She had taken control. And now she moves forward. That is what makes this moment so interesting. Just weeks ago, Eala was chasing the breakthrough that would change her career. Now she's trying to build on it. Washington gave her the first WTA title. Toronto gave her the biggest fan movement of her career. And Cincinnati is becoming the next test of whether Eala can turn a breakthrough season into something much bigger. Because there is a major difference between becoming a champion and staying at a champion's level. The first requires one incredible run. The second requires consistency. And Eala is now entering that second phase. Every opponent knows her name. Every opponent knows what she has accomplished. Nobody is going to underestimate her anymore. That's the price of success. But it's also the reward. Eala has earned the right to walk onto these courts with expectations surrounding her. And instead of running away from those expectations, she's embracing them. Her performance against Ruse showed that. From the beginning, she played aggressively. She didn't look hesitant. She didn't look overwhelmed. And most importantly, she didn't play like someone who was still wondering whether she belonged. She played like someone who already knew the answer. She belongs. And now the question is no longer whether Eala can reach the highest level. The question is how high she can actually climb. Look at the transformation. The player who once had to fight for attention is now one of the names fans are looking for when the draw is released. The player who once entered tournaments hopping for a breakthrough is now entering them with a target on her back. And the player who represented the Philippines almost alone is now followed by an international community wherever she goes. That's the bigger story behind this Cincinnati victory. It's not simply another result. It's evidence that Eala's momentum has survived the first major setback. Toronto ended her winning streak. But it didn't end her confidence. She lost to Belinda Bencic. She rested. She traveled. She reset. And then she came back onto the court and immediately started winning again. That response tells us more about her development than any winning streak ever could. Because every player eventually loses. Champions are defined by what happens afterward. And Eala's response has been simple. Keep going. Now Cincinnati becomes another opportunity. Another chance to face stronger opposition. Another chance to test her game. And another chance to show that Washington wasn't the peak. It was the beginning. There is also something special about the timing. The US Open is approaching. Every match from this point forward matters. Every win adds confidence. Every tough opponent provides experience. Every moment under pressure prepares Eala for the biggest stage in tennis. And that's why her progress in Cincinnati deserves attention. She's not playing simply to collect another tournament result. She's building towards something bigger. The US Open. A Grand Slam stage. A tournament where the entire tennis world will be watching. And when Eala walks into New York, she won't be the same player who arrived at the Australian Open earlier this year. She'll be a WTA champion. A top-ranked contender. Of course, nobody knows how far this run will go. But if Eala continues playing with the confidence we've seen recently, she is going to make things very uncomfortable for whoever stands across the net. And perhaps that's the biggest warning from this match. Don't look at Eala as the surprise anymore. Look at her as a threat. The tennis world has already seen what happens when she gets momentum. She can turn a close match into a runaway. She can survive pressure. She can play against established stars without being intimidated. And now she's learning how to handle the expectations that come with being a champion. The rain may have shortened the night in Cincinnati. But Eala's journey continues. She leaves this match with another victory, another confidence boost, and another opportunity waiting ahead. The scoreboard will eventually be replaced by another scoreboard. The headlines will eventually move to another match. But for Eala, this is about something much bigger. It's about building a career. It's about proving that her rise isn't temporary. And it's about showing an entire generation of Filipino athletes that tennis can belong to them too. So remember this moment. And if this Cincinnati run continues the way it started, the next headline could be much bigger. Because Eala isn't chasing the spotlight anymore. The spotlight is chasing her, fire.